The 2024 NERF Rival Mirage is the sister blaster to the Challenger, and as far as we know, these are the only two NERF Rival blasters being released this year, much like last year when we only got the NERF Rival Pilot and the Forerunner. I'm glad they're still making NERF Rival blasters. I wish they would do more with it. The NERF Rival Mirage clocks in at $20 US. You can find it at most retailers. I have this one special thanks to Ether, who sent it off to me because at the time of doing this video, I still cannot find one on store shelves. It is a rear priming slide magazine in grip-fed Rival Springer blaster that pretty much ticks all the boxes to completely eliminate the Helios and of course the Apollo. And yes, this is how big it is. Many people were asking silly questions like, how the heck are you supposed to use the stock if the priming grip is all the way back there, not realizing that this thing is going to be basically the size of a PDW. And it features unlisted hidden tech that isn't in the instruction manual that I'll clue you in on. Starting at the front of the blaster, we got what looks like an end strike muzzle attachment point. It is not an end strike muzzle attachment point. While I'm not saying you couldn't make something that would fit on this, but even if it was working with existing barrels are smaller because they don't feed rival rounds, and that would never work. So even if this is something that's going to come out in the future, as of right now, there are no barrel attachments for it unless you count some 3D printed what's-its. Below the muzzle, you've got this, it's like a tow hitch kind of thing. I love this kind of decoration on an SMG looking thing, but yeah, this is, I guess, a sling loop. And then you've got 3 tactical rival rails, one on each side and then one on the bottom. There's a total of 3 rival attachments that were ever made, and yes, it can theoretically hold and strike attachments. They don't lock in or anything like that, so no, they don't really work. Just because you can sort of fit it on a rail doesn't mean it's actually meant for that rail. So of course you got the Rival flashlight grip, the Rival sight, and of course the bipod that came with the NERF Rival Jupiter. It kind of sort of does. There you go. You got a thing. Right behind that, we've got this piece right here, which is called the front sight. We'll explain why that doesn't work here in a little bit. And you've got a Rival rail behind that for a total of 4 rails so far. And then of course, this big long Rival rail right here. But just behind the top rail, you've got a top loading port because yes, this is in grip mag-fed Rival rounds, but it also lets you load it from the breech and stuff like that. You can have an internal magazine and you can also ditch your magazine and do a fresh reload when you need it, which is super freaking good. You've got some kind of rear sight behind that, and then you've got your priming slide all the way at the back, which is a little stiff, but also very smooth. And no kind of stock or anything like that, because obviously it's not meant to be a stock, because, you know, your priming slide kind of gets in the way. On the right-hand side of the blaster, you've got your lock for your trigger, which just blocks the trigger from moving at all, which I find really easy to reach with my trigger finger. The trigger is a pivoting trigger, which is nice, but it is exceptionally stiff. On the left-hand side of the blaster, you've got your magazine release. This is the 8-round mag that comes with the blaster. While it is one of the cheaper styles, not the transparent that we used to get with Rival, it does have this rubber quick pull on it. Not only a bumper, but also something that if you had this in a magazine pouch would make it really easy to pull it out. Loading the mag into this blaster, this is, you hear that? You hear how good that sounds? But as you can probably guess, yeah, with it being on the left-hand side, it's a little difficult to reach that magazine release. And coming at the very back of the blaster, you've got what is a jam release. So once you push that forward, you're not supposed to be able to pull it back. You press down that button and you can, in fact, unlock it. This also lets you shotgun load if you really want to, although it doesn't really seem like this blaster likes it. And with the blaster, you get 10 of the Accu Rival rounds, 8 for the magazine and 2 because why not? NERF loves giving you the blue balls. Now, there is a thing, this really bothers me more than it should, but of course this is the magazine that came with the Challenger, right? And of course this mag has absolutely no problem working in the Challenger, but this magazine, if you wanted to load it into this blaster, you gotta do it like that. So the Challenger loads in mags backwards. I didn't even realize that, but here's the thing, right? So I got it in there. This does in fact work. It looks goofy as frick, but it's also really kind of awesome in a way. I don't know why, it just kind of sings to me. Yeah, it's, you have to kind of rip it out. There's a piece of plastic catching on in here or something like that. Speaking of the grip, it is rather large. It kind of has to be because that's where the mag goes, and these are not small magazines. Your mileage will vary on that. I have pretty average size hands, I would say, but most of you say they're tiny. And I don't have too much of a problem with this. The skeletonized gripping on this, which means it's kind of a thin wall. They try to make this grip as comfortable as it can be, and it's a lot more comfortable than what we got with like the Hera. Doesn't get in the way or anything like that. So if I have a grip on this blaster and I I try to load it, I can feel the mag going in, but it doesn't grab the skin or anything. Of course, we can load in our magazine, prime back the blaster, open up that breech, and while you can just load your magazine before you put it in there, you can also just top load the entire thing, which also means you can do the 8+1 for a total of 9 rounds. Well, I mean, I fit 9 rounds into the magazine, and that seems fine. And then, of course, we got the one of this. So I guess it can really hold 10. Pull the trigger, and a ball comes out. Quite violently, I might add. And now for some hidden tech. It has slam fire. Hold down the trigger, prime back the blaster, prime it forward, immediately fires around. And I bet that's gonna get a little bit smoother the more you do it, but yeah! That gives us a lot more options with this thing now, don't it? So let's take this thing over to Freddy and chronograph it and then put it up against our indoor range to see exactly what we're working with when it comes to indoor rival. Not gonna lie, I think Freddy likes it when we feed him some balls, and this is a nice little blaster. The Nerf Rival Mirage hits an average of 95.7 feet per second, which is about what you'd expect for Nerf Rival. We did get a low of 90.7, but we got a high of 98.4, which means this is perfectly in line with everything else you expect from Nerf Rival, and that's a good thing for a compact blaster. Alrighty, let's see what we can do here. Getting there. Spoke way too soon. Thank goodness for the breech load. Ooh, that was really bad. 67. Think we could do a little bit better, but I'm gonna switch to the yellow rounds because that's the most I have right now. All right, let's see if switching to our banana slamming yellow rounds will change anything. Again, it tried to double feed on me there. It's never done this before. Ooh, dead on. A lot of these shots are going exactly where I think they're gonna go. The ones that go left and right, not really too sure about those ones. $74. All right, I'm gonna chalk that last one up to just having more practice. So let's see what we can do in the third and final round.
Ready.
Not off to a great start. There we go. $69, giggity. Pretty good. But for our true test of strength, can we nail the E-shooter physical targets reliably? Those are pretty small. And it is Rival. Ding. Dong. I heard it ding. Alrighty then. Yeah, I gotta say, I don't know what happened with some of those shots. It could just be inconsistency with Rival rounds. Feels really accurate. And in fact, this is one of the first times I've used a Springer Rival blaster that I feel really confident I can land first shot accuracy every time. So I'm not gonna mince words here. This blaster does make me kind of angry. There's always been this like air of planned obsolescence with most of what Nerf Rival has given us. And with the Mirage here, yeah, it pretty much does everything you would want a blaster like this to do, which makes the Mirage pretty much perfect as a Springer Rival blaster. Sure, it doesn't have the extreme capacity of things like the Hades or the Artemis, but those are much larger blasters than what you're getting with the Mirage. It's of course not gonna be for everybody, but there are also all of the other options out there for those people that wouldn't find what they would like in the Mirage. But I feel for most people, you look at this thing and like, yeah, I could do with one of those, and I would say you would probably do with one of these. You know, it also doesn't hurt that Bots and Blasters got his hands on one of these things and already made it shoot a short dart at 140 FPS. There's some shenanigans to be had with the Mirage when it comes to short darts as well. Do you already feel like you have your perfect Nerf Rival primary and you don't care about anything else? Well, steer clear of the Mirage. There are no illusions about this blaster. It is really that good. Heck, it's better than the Challenger in a lot of ways. I can't believe I'm saying that.